and welcome. My name is Chris Can with Mining Journal, and with me I have Peter Bryant, Board Chair for US-based energy transition and mining consultancy Clareo. This is part of the three-part series on mining's role in green industrialisation and how it could transform Saudi Arabia. Today, Peter and I are going to discuss the importance of collaboration to achieve collective goals. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Chris. Good to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this.
Our pleasure. First, hopefully a fairly simple one for you, but maybe a big one. Why do we actually need to collaborate?
I think it's never been more important than now. And the reason is the magnitude of the challenges have really been kind of magnified by the energy transition and the demands of the metals from these downstream companies, whether it be wind turbine manufacturers, EV companies. They have pretty stringent standards. And if we're able to, we have to convert what is increasingly becoming energy, water, and waste intensive. And the magnitude of the problem is beyond one company, one industry. It is something that requires intense collaboration amongst miners and other sectors that get the benefit of the minerals.
Right. So the mining industry, as we are all too familiar, hasn't had the best track record of collaboration. And I think that's probably across the industry itself, collaborating with each other, sharing technology, but then also collaborating downstream and with certain stakeholders. Can you see any avenues to rapidly turn that culture around to achieve the results that the industry is shooting for?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. Rapid is the key question there, because if you look at the ingredients of how you get this done, obviously you need leadership. You need the aligned incentives inside the mining company and the industry itself, and kind of a recognition that because they've underinvested in innovation, they need there's so many common problems within the industry that they need to collaborate on those, no competitive advantage. And the second one is that there are other people with deeper pockets and better innovation muscles and good ideas that you gain. And, I always say people go, there's competition and all that. The oil industry collaborated with an initiative called OGCI. They put over $1 billion into this. It was the sole focus for carbon capture because the whole oil industry gained from that. The aerospace industry, there's nothing more competitive than the engine and aircraft manufacturers. They created a consortium in UK, ATI, who I know the CTO personally, and they focused on the common issues that the airline industry faces and aerospace manufacturers. And they pour money in. So what it does is it intensifies investment. It focuses innovators to just speak to one organization. So there's huge benefits to collaborate beyond what I call the peripheral, I'll give $1 million to this company to collaborate. That's not real collaboration in my book. So we've got to turbocharge this because we just don't have time to wait, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, there are a few collaborative efforts, as you say. I think they're probably a bit beyond 1 mil, but they're definitely not industry-wide collaborative think tanks, for want of a better term. Yeah. Whose responsibility would it be, do you see? And I guess in those analogies that you brought in from other industries, in those situations, was that like industry lobby groups? For example, in mining, it would be the ICMM. Was it the leaders of the industry? So in mining, should that be BHP and Rio? Was it government taking the lead? How does it work best to actually set these big industry organizations up or groups up that will have the funding to make a real difference to the innovation?
Yeah, I think it's great. And this is very culturally, specific, because some countries' government have a bigger role. So in the US, government has a role, but it's usually get out of the way. My belief is that it has to be led by the industry. It has to be led by industry leaders, not associations. And I think the mining industry's got to pull the other people in, because I think soon it's going to be the downstream companies pushing on the industry or pulling the industry. So you'll get the motor companies, wind company going, we need to really work on this. So I think at the end of the day, it has to be industry leader-led and not associational governments.
I think that's already happening, isn't it, Peter, in terms of the autos leaning on the industry and getting involved with standards, etc. What is the government role then? We're talking about specifically Saudi Arabia. As we've discussed previously, they have a dependence on the mining industry to become a catalyst for the green vision and the industrialization that they've the Vision 2030 outlines. What's the key for Saudi Arabia in terms of facilitating and being part of that collaborative approach for mining?
Yeah. So I think first is their ambition and vision. So I've been to, as you have, probably every mining conference known to mankind, and the narrative at Future Mineral Forum is different, and that it's the only conference, I think, where there's serious intent around true transformation of the industry. And the Saudis call it modern mining. Mm-hmm. And I don't hear that. The mining industry is all about fast follower incremental change. This is the first time you're hearing total transformation, modern mining, it has to change. So to make that happen, they have a history of innovation and collaboration. So there's two things they're doing. One is setting up centers of excellence that came out of the Ministerial Roundtable to help turbocharge that. And at the end of the day, too, they have deep pockets. And at the end of the day, it takes, as the Australians would say, you can't achieve much on the sniff of an oily rag. At some point, you have to invest more than the industry is. And I think Saudi brings ambition, capability, and capital to the table that really hasn't been seen at that scale in the industry. So it's exciting to see this. So,
Peter, we have another interview lined up that will be available for listeners that will look at specifically that transformation piece. So we're going to leave it there for today. Thanks very much for your time.
Great. Thanks, Chris.